Alright, I am back. It's a different setting today. I left off where Devin and Aaron were getting closer to finding out who the killer was. After that, Aaron and Tom were getting ready to leave, but Aaron left first, which left Tom and Devin. This is where, Tom had a body talk with Devin, telling him, hey, bro, telling him to, whatever's going on with him and Aaron, that they should stop it because it's been stressing Aaron out a lot, and he really cares for her and is in love with Aaron. But yeah, that's where I left off. She's the most important. Oh, never mind. Sorry. I don't want you to get the idea. Wait. Ziggy, 20 minutes.
20-minute timer started.
Okay. Here's the thing. If she's going to transfer and still hold on to her financial aid, she can't let her grades slip. You see that, don't you? Yeah, I could see that. Yes, I could see that. I could see something else too, even if Tom couldn't. He wanted her away from JOYLAND in mind as well as body because something had happened to him there that he couldn't understand, nor did he want to, which, in my opinion, made him sort of a fool. That dour flush of envy ran through me again, causing my stomach to clench around the food it was trying to digest. Then I smiled. It was an effort. I won't kid you about that, and said, message received. Then I smiled. It was an effort. I won't kid you about that, and said, message received. As far as I'm concerned, our little research project is over. So relax, Thomas. You can stop thinking about what happened in Horror House, about what you saw there. Good. We're still friends, right? I reached across the table. Friends to the end, I said. We shook on it. The Wiggle Waggle Village Story stage had these. The Wiggle Waggle Village Story stage had three backdrops: Prince Charming's castle, Jack's magic beanstalk, and a starry night sky featuring the Carolina spin outlined in red neon. All three had sun faded over the course of the summer. I was in the Wiggle Waggle's small backstage area on Monday morning, touching them up and not not hoping not to fuck them up. I was no Van Gogh. When one of the part-time Gazunis arrived with the message from Fred Dean, I will, I was wanted in his office. I went with uh, I went with some unease, wondering if I was going to get a reaming for bringing Aaron into the park on Saturday. I was surprised to find Fred dressed not in one of his suits or his amusing golf outfit, but in faded jeans and an equally faded Joyland t-shirt. The shirt sleeves rolled to show some real muscle. There was a paisley sweatband cinched around his brow. He didn't look like an accountant or the park's chief employment officer. He looked like a ride jock. He registered my surprise and smiled. Like the outfit? Like the outfit? I must admit, I do. It's the way I dressed when I caught on with the Bliss Brothers show in the Midwest back in the 50s. My mother was okay with with the Blitzies, but my dad was horrified, and he was corny. I know, I said. He raised his eyebrows. Really? Word gets around. Word gets around, doesn't it? Anyway, there's a lot to do this afternoon. Just give me a list. I'm almost done painting the backdrops in the not at all, Jonesy. You're signing out at noon today. And I don't want to see you until tomorrow morning at 9 when you turn up with your guests. Don't worry about your paycheck either. I'll see I'll see eh, I'll see you're not docked for the 2 hours you missed. What's this about, Fred? He gave me a smile I couldn't interpret. It's a surprise. That that Monday was warm and sunny, and Annie and Mike were having lunch at the end of the boardwalk when I walked back to Heaven's Bay. Milo Milo saw me coming and raced to meet me. Dev, Mike called. Come and have a sandwich. We've got plenty. No, I really shouldn't. We insist, Annie said. Then her then her brow furrowed. Unless you're sick or something. I don't want Mike to catch a bug. I'm fine. Just got sent home early. Mr. Dean, he's my boss. Mr. Dean, he's my boss, wouldn't tell me why. He said it was a surprise. It's got something to do with tomorrow, I guess. I looked at her with some anxiety. We're still on for tomorrow, right? Yes, she said. When I surrender, I surrender. Just, we're not going to tire him out, are we, Dev? Mom, Mike said. She paid him no mind. Are we? No, ma'am. Although seeing Fred Dean dressed up like a corny road dog with all those unsuspected muscles showing. Mm, no, ma'am. Although seeing Fred Dean dressed up like a corny road dog with all those unsuspected muscles showing had made me uneasy. Hey, I'm taking this off. Had I made it clear to him how fragile Mike's health was? Had I made it clear to him how fragile Mike's health was? I thought so, but then come up then had I made it clear to him how fragile Mike's health was? I thought so, but then come on up here and have a sandwich, she said. I hope you like egg salad. I didn't sleep well on Monday. I didn't sleep well on Monday night, half convinced that the tropical storm Fred had mentioned would arrive early and wash out Mike's trip to the park. But Tuesday dawned cloudless. I crept down to the parlor and turned on the TV in time to get the 6:45 weathercast on WEC on WECT. WECT. The storm was still coming, but the only people who were going to feel it today were the ones living in coastal Florida and Georgia. I hope Mr. Easterbrook had packed his galoshes. You're up early, Miss Shaplow said, poking her head in from the kitchen. I was just making scrambled eggs and bacon. Come have some. I'm not that hungry, Mrs. S. Nonsense. You're still a growing boy, Devin, and you need to eat. Aaron, Aaron told me what you've got going on today, and I think you're doing a wonderful thing. It'll be fine. I hope you're right, I said. But I kept thinking of Fred Dean in his work clothes. Fred, who'd send me home early. Fred, who had a surprise planned. We made our arrangements at lunch the day before, and when I turned my old car into the driveway of the big green Victorian at 8:30 on Tuesday morning, Annie and Mike were ready to go. So was Milo. Are you sure nobody will mind us bringing him? Mike asked on Monday. I don't want to get in trouble. Service dogs are allowed in Joyland, I said. And Milo is going to be a service dog. Aren't you, Milo? Milo had cocked his head, apparently unfamiliar with the service dog concept. Today Mike was wearing his huge clanky braces. I moved to help him into the van, but he waved me off and did it himself. It took a lot of effort and I expected a coughing fit, but none came. He was practically bouncing with excitement. Annie looked Annie looking impossibly long-legged in Lee Riders, handed me the van keys. You drive. And lowering her voice so Mike wouldn't hear. I'm too goddamn nervous to do it. I was nervous too. I'd bulldozed her into this after all. I'd had help from Mike, true, but I was the adult. If if it went wrong, it would be on me. I wasn't much for prayer, but as I loaded Mike's crutches and wheelchair into the back of the van, I sent I sent one up that nothing could go wrong, that nothing would go wrong. Then I backed out of the driveway, turned onto Beach Drive, and drove just past the billboard reading, Bring your kids to Joyland for the time of their lives. Annie was in the passenger seat, and I thought she had never looked more beautiful than she did that October morning, in her faded jeans and a light sweater, her hair tied back of with a hank of blue yarn. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this, Dev, she said. I just hope we're doing the right thing. We are, I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt because now that is because now that now that it was a done deal, I had my doubts. The Joyland sign was lit up. That was the first thing I noticed. The second was that the summertime get happy music was playing through the loudspeakers, a sonic parade of late 60s and early 70s hits. I had intended to park in one of the Lot A handicapped spaces. They were only 50 feet or so from the park entrance, but before I could do so, Fred Dean stopped me through the open gate and beckoned us forward. Today, he wasn't wearing just any suit, but the three-piecer he saved for the occasional celebrity who raided a VIP tour. The suit I had seen, but never the black silk top hat, which looked like the kind you saw diplomats wearing in old newsreel footage. Is this usual? Annie asked. Sure, I said, a trifle giddily. None of it was unusual. I drove through the gate and onto Joyland Avenue, pulling up next to the park bench outside the Wiggle Waggle village where Mr. Easterbrook had once sat during my first turn as Howie. Mike wanted to get out of the van the way he'd gotten in, by himself. I stood by, ready to catch him if he lost his balance. While Annie hoisted the wheelchair out of the back, Milo sat at my feet, tail thumping, ears cocked, eyes bright. As Annie rolled the wheelchair up, Fred approached in a cloud of aftershave. He was resplendent. There's really no other word for it. He took off his hat. Ziggy, what does the word resplendent mean?
Resplendent means shining brilliantly or being splendidly attractive. It's often used to describe something that's glowing or dazzling.
Ah, that's a new word. He took off his hat, bowed to Annie, then held out a hand. You must be Mike's mother. You had to remember that wasn't coming. Miss wasn't common usage back then. And nervous as I was, I took a moment to appreciate how deftly he had avoided the Mrs. Dichotomy, dichotomy, dichotomy. I am, she said. I don't know if she was flustered by his courtliness or by the difference in the way they were dressed. She she amusement park you casual. He stay visit formal. But flustered she was. She shook his hand though. And this young man is Michael. He offered his hand to the wide-eyed boy standing there in his steel supports. Thank you for coming today. You're welcome. I mean, thank you. Thank you for having us. He shook Fred's hand. This place is huge. It wasn't, of course. Disney World is it wasn't. Of course, Disney World is huge, but to a 10-year-old who had never been to an amusement park, it had to look that way. For a moment, I could see it through his eyes, see it new, and my doubts about bringing him began to melt away. Fred bent down to examine the third member of the Ross family, hands on his knees. And you're Milo, Milo barked. Yes, Fred said, and I'm equally pleased to meet you. He held out his hand, waiting for Milo to raise his paw. When he did, Frank shook it. How do you know our dog's name? Annie asked. Did Dev tell you? He straightened, smiling. He did not. I know because this is the magic place, my dear. For instance, he showed her his empty hands, then put them behind his back. Which hand? Left, Annie said, playing along. Fred brought out his left hand, empty. She rolled her eyes, smiling. Okay, right. This time he brought out a dozen roses, real ones. Annie and Mike gasped. Me too. All these years later, I have no idea how he did it. Joyland is for children, my dear, and since today Mike is the only child here. The park belongs to him. These, however, are for you. She shook them like a woman in a dream, burying her face in the blooms, smelling their sweet red dust. I'll put them in the van for you, I said. She held them a moment longer, then passed them to me. Mike, Fred said, do you know what we sell here? He looked uncertain. Rides? Rides and games? We sell fun. So what do you say we have some? So what do you say we have some? I remember Mike's day at the park, Annie's day too, as if it happened last week. But it would take a correspondent much more talented than I am to tell you how it felt or to explain how it could have ended. The last hold Wendy Keegan still held over my heart and my emotions. All I can say is what you already know. Some days are treasured. Not many, but I think in almost every life there are a few. That was one of mine. And when I'm blue, when life comes down on me and everything looks tawdry and cheap, the way Joyland Avenue did on rainy day, the way Joyland Avenue did on a rainy day, I go back to it. If only to remind myself that life wasn't always a butcher's game. Sometimes the prizes are real. Sometimes they're precious. Of course, not all the rides were running, and that was okay because there were a lot of them Mike couldn't handle. but more than half of the park was operational that morning. The lights, the music, even some of the shies where half a dozen gazunis were on duty selling popcorn, fries, sodas, cotton candy, and popalicious dogs. I have no idea how Fred and Lane pulled it off in a single afternoon, but they did. We started in the village where Lane was waiting beside the engine of the Choo Choo Wiggle. He was wearing a pillow tick engineer's cap instead of his derby, but it was cocked at the same insouciant, insouciant angle. Of course it was. All aboard. This is the ride that makes kids happy. So get on board and make it snappy. Dogs ride free. Moms ride free. Kids ride up in the engine with me. He pointed at Mike, then to the passenger seat in the engine. Mike got out of his chair, set his crutches, then tottered on them. Annie started for him. No, Mom, I'm okay. I can do it. He got his balance and clanked to where Lane was standing, a real boy with robot legs, and allowed Lane to boost him into the passenger seat. Is that the cord that blows the whistle? Can I pull it? That's what it's there for, Lane said. But watch out for pigs on the tracks. There's a wolf in the area, and the death they're scared to death of him. Annie and I sat in one of the cars. Her eyes were bright. Roses all her Roses all her own burned in her cheeks. Her lips, though tightly pressed together, were trembling. You okay? I asked her. Yes. She shook my hand, laced her fingers through mine, and squeezed almost tight enough to hurt. Yes, yes, yes. Controls green across the board. Lane cried. Check me on that, Michael. Controls green up. Controls green across the board, Lane cried. Check me on that, Michael. Check. Watch out for what on the tracks? Pigs. Kid, you got style that makes me smile. Give that yell rope a yank and we're off. Mike yanked the cord. The whistle howled. Milo barked. The air brakes chuffed and the train began to move. Choo Choo Wiggle was strictly a Zemp ride, okay? All the Ziggy, Ziggy, stop. All right, that was cool. So, I also quick summary of what I just read. It's finally the day where Mike was coming over to the park to experience the rides, and the day went perfect. Fred Dean helped Devin out by getting the rides ready for them, and they're all having a good time from what I'm reading. And even though Annie is really worried, she is still enjoying that her son is having a good time. What else? Am I missing anything else? Yeah, that's about it. That'll be it.